Hey Luminauts, this is Jay Rome and this is the Everything Stellar YouTube channel. Today we've got a video going over the Stellar Laboratory. What is the Stellar Laboratory? Glad you asked. The Laboratory is a tool built and hosted by the SDF that makes it easy to build your own transactions and submit them to the network, as well as a tool to dig in and get information about everything about the network. Accounts, assets, claimable balances, anything you need, it's there. I'm going to show you around the lab and then walk you through how to build your own transactions with a few demos. We'll be working on the test network, not the public network, so there is no such thing as making mistakes. Just happy accidents. Let's dive in. So the first thing we need to do is load up the lab. There have been, and there still are, a lot of scams that duplicate the look and feel of the lab with the hopes of capturing your secret key and therefore your assets. So let's be deliberate with how we get to the lab. So a simple Google search would likely get you where you need to be, but when we're dealing with our assets, we want to be absolutely certain. So what we're going to do is load up stellar.org, and then up at the top here, under Use Stellar, there is a link to the Stellar Laboratory. So we're going to go ahead and click on that, and that sends us to the laboratory. And the first thing we want to do is make sure we are using the test network. So up here in the corner, top right corner, you will see test, public, and custom. So the first thing we want to do is make sure that we are using the test network. So now let's get to the fun stuff. We're going to dig into building, signing, and submitting transactions using the lab. Some examples of things you might want to do are create a new account, merge accounts, send a payment, create a trust line, claim a claimable balance, set up multi-sig, anything. So we're going to go through some examples and then use the Endpoint Explorer to view the changes from the transactions we submit. So the first thing we are going to do is create a new key pair. So a key pair is a public key and a matching secret key, and the lab has a quick tool to generate those for you. So at the top, we're going to click on Create Account. And then the first button here says Generate Key Pairs. So we're going to go ahead and click that to get one key pair. I'm going to copy that secret and public key and save that for later. We're going to call this one Ralph. This is Ralph's account here. And I'm actually going to generate another one real quick. We are going to call that one Sandwich Shop. You will see why in our examples here in a minute. And one quick note about public keys and private keys is you'll notice the public key starts with G, secret key starts with S, and the second character, if I keep clicking Generate Key Pair, you'll notice something about the second character here, A, C, D. So the second character in a public key can only be the characters A, B, C, or D. And another thing is that there is no such thing as a 0 or a 1 in a key pair. So anything in here, the zeros and ones would look like capital O's and I's, so they did away with zeros and ones. So just an interesting little tidbit about the public key format there. Now, just because we have a key pair, it does not mean that account actually exists on the network yet, because on Stellar, the minimum account balance is 1 XLM. But we'll get to that more in just a second. So let's use the Endpoint Explorer to look at that account and see what it says about that first key. So let me grab that first key of Ralph's. And then we're going to click on Explore Endpoints, Accounts, Single Account. Come down and paste in the public key and click Submit. And so now we get the universal not found 404. So it's telling us that that account does not exist yet because it has not been funded with at least 1 XLM. Something unique about the testnet is that there is this really rich friend of yours called Friendbot that's always willing to toss you some XLM to activate your account. And with the click of one button, you can fund and therefore activate that account. So let's go back to the Create Account tab, and just below where we generated our key pair, there is the Friendbot. And all your friend wants to know is the public key to your account, and he will send you 10,000 XLM and activate that account. So let's go ahead and do that with Ralph's account. Wait for a reply, and success. So now let's go back to that endpoint and see what it says about that account now. And now we get a result that shows that our balance is 10,000 XLM. So native asset on the network is XLM. So this is now showing that that account has 10,000 XLM. But our second account, our sandwich shop, is not funded yet. And just to practice in case we're not on the test network where our rich friend, the Friendbot, just tosses us 10,000 XLM, let's learn how to build that transaction ourselves. So we're going to scroll back to the top here and click on Build Transaction. And let's go through the options here real quick. There is source account. That will be the account key that we are doing the operation from. So I've got the key for Ralph's account in here. And transaction sequence number is the next field. There's a button here that'll go ahead and grab the next one. It goes a little bit in the weeds if we explain what that is, but just know that these go in succession, and that once you submit a transaction, the next time you come, this will be incremented by 1. So this button is helpful to go ahead and grab the next one. The fee that you are willing to pay for the transaction, the minimum fee is 100 stroops, which is 0.00001 XLM. And we're on the test network, so we could bump that up to 10,000, doesn't really matter. I don't think we're in surge on the test network right now, but we can go ahead and leave that there. Memo, so if we were doing something like sending a payment to an exchange where they required a memo, this is where we could fill that in. Time bounds, this basically specifies a time at which this transaction will no longer be valid. So there's a quick button here to set the upper time bounds to 5 minutes from now. And I don't want to forget to click that each time, and it is an optional thing. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that empty for our transactions. And then we get down to operation type. And this dropdown will have a list of all of the operation types that we can do. And you'll notice at the very top here, the first option is create account. So let's go ahead and select that and see what options we have. So the first one is destination. This is going to be the key of the account that we need to create. So let's go back and grab the key of the sandwich shop, paste that in. Starting balance is how many XLM we want to send to that account to activate it, knowing that the minimum is 1. So let's go ahead and send them 1,000. Then we can scroll down. We're all done with that. And then we can click on Sign in Transaction Signer. This is kind of a review of what you are doing. And then we get down to the signatures section. And this is where we need the private key from Ralph, since he is the one submitting the transaction. So we're going to paste that in there. There are other options here. If you were using a hardware wallet or a browser extension, you will see those buttons here to sign with those methods. But we're all done and signed, so we will go down to the bottom and click Submit. And then here we will click Submit and wait for our result. So here we go. Success. So now let's go back, look up that account, grab the sandwich shop public key, and make sure that they have 1,000 XLM. Perfect. So we activated that account. Now we've got 2 active accounts. So the next thing we're going to do is add a trust line. So we're going to set our sandwich shop up to accept USDC. So on Stellar, you must explicitly allow assets to be held in an account. So if you don't have a trust line to an asset and someone tries to send it to you, it will not work. So we're going to set up our sandwich shop account like a business and add a USDC trust line so they can be paid in that asset. So we're going to go back to build a transaction. This time we are doing a transaction from the sandwich shop. So we will use that public key. Click the button to get the next sequence number for that account. Then we're going to go down to change trust operation. And the options you get here are for the asset, code, issuer account, and then the trust line limit. So I grabbed this earlier, so we're doing USDC, and I grabbed one from the test network. This is the issuer of that account. And then the trust line limit. So this will specify the maximum amount of that asset that the account can hold. So we're a business. If you leave it to 0, it'll be the max. So we're a business. We hope to make tons of money and we might have a gajillion dollars in our account. So let's go ahead and leave that blank. Come down. And now we need the secret key of the sandwich shop since that's who's submitting this transaction. Let's submit that. Okay. Looks like that worked. We can come back here and view that. Just double checking that was the key for the sandwich shop. Now you can see balances. Here's balance 0 for our USDC. So we got the asset code USDC and there's the issuer. So now that account has a trust line set up to USDC, and the maximum amount of USDC that account can hold is this really big number. So I think they're set for a while. They're going to be a successful sandwich shop, I believe. So the opposite you could also do real quick if we go back. If you need to remove a trust line, there is a note here to set to 0. So if you have an account with a bunch of trust lines open of assets that you do not hold anymore and do not intend to hold or have anyone send to you, you can come in here, same type of operation, and we put a 0 in that field. And when you submit it, it will remove that trust line. So that's how you remove a trust line. And so now we're going to do an example of Ralph. He went to visit the sandwich shop and he wants to buy a sandwich. But if we remember back, all Ralph has in his account is XLM. He got his XLM from the Friendbot, 10,000, and then he sent 1,000 to create the sandwich shop account. So he should have 9,000 XLM left. But he went to the sandwich shop and he bought a sandwich for $5 and needs to pay them. On Stellar, we have what's called path payments. There are two different versions of a path payment. There is path payment strict send and path payment strict receive. And these are different than normal payments in that you can specify an asset for the person to receive that is different than you send. And Stellar will go through the order book and find the most efficient way to get them the asset that you specify. So in this case, we are going to send XLM and they are going to receive USDC for the sandwich. So let's go build that transaction. So at the top here, we are going to put in the key of Ralph since he's the one buying the sandwich. Put his key in there, get the next sequence number for his account. And then we're going to go down to path payment strict receive. So I mentioned both of these, and the difference to them is for a path payment strict send, you specify, I want to send exactly this much, and the amount they receive will be where the variable comes in depending on the order books and liquidity pools, how it's routed. Path payment strict receive says, I need to make sure the person receives X amount, and the amount that it costs me is where the variable will come in. So in our example here with Ralph going in the sandwich shop, we need to make sure that they get their $5. the amount of XLM that it costs Ralph will be where the variable comes in. So let's go ahead and select path payment strict receive. And it's going to ask you the destination. We are going to put the key of the sandwich shop. Now it's asking for the sending asset, and Ralph only holds XLM, so we are going to click native. And the maximum send amount. So what's the maximum amount of XLM that you're willing to send to create the $5? And just for sake of this example, I'm just going to put a high number. The USDC on the test network, the pricing is all over the place because it's the test network. So we're just going to put 5,000 in there to ensure this goes through. And then I'll show you how to go back in the Explorer and see how many XLM it actually cost. Intermediate path, you can specify other assets that it will route through. We're just going to let Stellar do its thing there. And then destination asset. So we know they want to receive USDC, and the issuer of that asset is that key right there. And the destination amount is 5 because they want $5. I don't know what type of sandwich it is, but it costs $5. Must be a foot long. Let's submit this and see what we get. Let's ensure that we have Ralph's private key in here to sign the transaction and submit that. All right, looks like that worked. The first thing listed here in the result is a hash. I'm going to go ahead and copy that, and we are going to go back to the Endpoint Explorer, and we are going to go to operations for transaction. And then I'm going to paste in that hash there and click submit. And so this gives us details about the operation, shows you the type was a path payment strict receive. And then the piece that we're interested in is how many XLM it cost us. So you can see the amount that they received, and this shows the source amount. So it ended up costing us 365.2 XLM, because remember we said we want to make absolutely sure that they receive this amount, and so this amount we weren't sure exactly how much it was going to cost, so that's how much it ended up costing us. So now we just paid for our sandwich and everybody's happy. So the next thing we'll go over are claimable balances, and we're going to go through a scenario where Ralph has overpaid for his sandwich and the sandwich shop wants to return him $1. The only problem is Ralph does not have a trust line set up for USDC. And so the sandwich shop will need to send that as a claimable balance, which will give him a chance to create the trust line and then accept that payment. So let's go build that transaction. We are going to set this up from the sandwich shop. So we will get that key, put it in there, get the next sequence number for that account, and go down and select Create Claimable Balance. And our options here are for asset, and the sandwich shop wants to return to him USDC, and this is the issuer. And then the amount, so the sandwich shop wants to return to him $1. And then we need to set up the claimants. And so the first claimant is Ralph. We want Ralph to be able to claim this. And we want Ralph to be able to claim it anytime he wants. So we're going to click unconditional under predicate. We're going to add a new claimant, and we are going to put ourselves. And that will allow us, if Ralph never claims this, we can go ahead and claim it back ourselves. So there will be 2 claimants on this one. So let's go back and sign this transaction. We're setting it up from the sandwich shop, so we need their secret key here. And let's see what we get. That looks like that worked. We can go confirm that in the Explorer, claimable balances, all claimable balances, and then we are going to look for claimable balances on Ralph's accounts. We will grab his key and put him as a claimant. And sure enough, it shows that he has USDC in the amount of $1. And you can see here that there are two claimants, one key here, one key here. Both of them have unconditional time constraints and everything that they can go ahead and claim this. So let's go ahead and grab this ID right here. That is the claimable balance ID, which we will need for this transaction. So now we're going to go claim that. So now we are going to do a transaction from Ralph's account. Get that back in there. Get the sequence number. And then the operation. So remember, Ralph doesn't have a trust line to USDC, so we must do that first. So let's go in here, change trust, USDC, grab the issuer, leave the trust limit blank in case Ralph wins the lottery. And then what we're going to do is, as part of the same transaction, since transactions on Stellar can contain up to 100 operations, we're going to add another operation. So this operation is adding the USDC trust line to his account. We're going to add another operation to this transaction to claim the claimable balance. And the only option here is the claimable balance ID, which is what we grabbed just a second ago. We will put that in there. Let's submit this with Ralph's secret key and see what we get. Okay, let's go check Ralph's account and see if he has a trust line to USDC and $1 in his account. So balances, balance 1, asset code USDC. So that's how you submit transactions with multiple operations. And in this case, we were opening a trust line to an asset and then claiming a claimable balance that had that asset. So the last thing we're going to cover is merging accounts. So say you have one account and you suspect you might have accidentally entered your private key in a shady website, and you create a new key and you want to move all your assets there. You would use the account merge operation. But one quick note is that the only asset that can be sent as part of the merge is XLM. So if you have any other assets, they need to be sent separately, and then the only thing left in the account can be XLM. In the case of Ralph, he has the one USDC from his refund from the sandwich shop. So I'm going to show you how to do a path payment to yourself to get rid of that USDC into XLM. So we're going to build a transaction through Ralph's account. So I got his key in there. We'll get the next sequence number and come down. And just like we did earlier when we did a path payment, this time we are going to do a path payment strict send, because we want to make sure to get rid of all of our USDC so that we can close the trust line. So path payment strict send. The destination is going to be ourself. So our own private or public key in there. And the sending asset will be the USDC that we hold, the issuer there. In the send amount, we have 1. And the destination asset we want to be XLM, since that's the only asset we can hold when we do the merge. So we got that set up there. Minimum destination amount, we're just going to say 0.1. We just need to get XLM. We don't care how many. And the next operation will be the actual merge, since the first operation should get rid of all the USDC, and then, we will need to remove that trust line before we do that. So let's go ahead and remove the USDC trust line. Set it as 0 to remove it. Then we will add our operation to merge the accounts. And the only option here that we need to fill in is the destination, which we will put the public key of the sandwich shop. So let's just review that real quick. The first operation we are doing is a path payment strict send with the 1 USDC that we hold, turning that via a path payment into XLM. Then we are removing the trust line to USDC by setting the trust limit to 0. And then finally, we are merging our account into the sandwich shop. So let's go in here and ensure we sign with Ralph's private key and see what we get. Looks like that succeeded. Let's go view that account. That is Ralph's public key. And now we get a 404. That account no longer exists. And now if we go to the sandwich shop, we should be able to see that they have their full balance back. So they got sent the XLM to make them whole. So that's how you merge accounts. So now you might be saying, hey, there's a lot more operations in that dropdown than what you've showed me. So we didn't cover everything here. The operations that I've shown you, such as create account, payment, the trust line stuff, the claimable balance, that's stuff that's easy to do through here and stuff you should know how to do without a graphical user interface. But things like managing buy and sell offers, liquidity pool stuff, the fields that you need to fill in here and the way that the minimum and maximum price are calculated are a little funny. So I would definitely suggest leaving that to a wallet, a graphical interface, to be able to figure that out for you. So a regular payment we didn't go over, but it's very similar to a path payment, just destination, who you want to send it to, the asset code, and the amount. So the basic stuff we covered, and once again, this is on the test network, so you're playing with your rich Friendbot's money anyways, so you're not going to break anything that's irreparable. So go play with this stuff. See the options for all these various operations. You can create your own asset on the test network and just play around. You're not going to break anything. You're not going to ruin anything as long as you're on the test network. So just go in, play around, break stuff, learn stuff. And that, Luminauts, is a brief overview of the Stellar Laboratory. Before you leave, this is just the first of many videos I'll be doing as part of an Intro to Stellar series here on the Everything Stellar YouTube channel. And I would greatly appreciate you doing all the things that will help quality videos like this rise above the rest of the junk that we all know is around here. So give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment, let me know what you thought. If you have any suggestions for other videos, subscribe to the channel so you can get notified when other ones are posted. And please share this with anyone you think would find it useful. Thanks for watching. Until next time.